Drew Lock spoke earlier today, and he said something that was kind of interesting in his press conference about trusting the offensive line more. So do you see Drew Lock struggling to trust his offensive line out there, trusting the protection?
Well, I don't think so. I think he trusts
I can't say that I saw a lot of that.
Who said that? Drew did?
Drew did, which I thought was kind of interesting. Here was kind of a little bit of his follow-up on trusting his offensive line. He kind of dropped it in his first statement a little earlier, but this was kind of a follow-up on trusting his offensive line.
I'd say it's a little both of those. Staying where I'm at, working up. Just kind of my whole life, just been a run around, go try to make plays kind of guy. And, we played defense like what the Chiefs did. They played big zones against us and forced me to check it down. And, I don't blame them. We saw this the week before and we hit some deep balls. So it's back off that it was also snowing. It was just freezing cold at the same time. There's a lot of factors that went into what was going on in that game. But, they were forcing me to check it down and I wasn't doing it. I was running around. And then I was, in return, forcing balls downfield a little bit there. It ended up hurting our offense. It took us off the field. And, I can be a lot better at that. And that's a big goal of mine this week is even after I let go of the ball, working through my progression in practice without the ball in my hand and just finding a way to keep maneuvering in the pocket and keep this offense on the field as long as possible.
Yeah, he talked about how he could have done a lot better job on Sunday, completing easy passes, working through progressions better, trusting the O-line a little bit more, and it's part of his plan for the week. What'd you make of that?
Couple of different things to take out of there, actually. I haven't listened to these quotes yet, so this is a couple of things to take out of that. Number one, he specifically mentioned that it was freezing cold. The cold was affecting him. And I'm telling you play tight, and you go to muscle memory. And that's what he did, reverting back to scrambling around. The idea that and he basically took what we were saying earlier and expounded on it a little bit about the small thing, not doing the small things, trying for the big things, and forgetting that the small things lead to the big things. And I think that's, like I said, I've talked to coaches that are working with him. I've talked to people that are close to the situation, and they say the same things. He's in his own head. You could kind of hear it a little bit there because his answer wasn't the usual kind of sharp, truncated answer that he has. He's usually to the point. He's usually pretty direct. That answer was kind of rambly. He was kind of ruminating it in his head. It feels like even in his answers there that he's kind of in his own head.
So that's more what you took out of this as is he kind of is looking at. I thought there was a lot of introspective moments there. I felt like he kind of took a look at it, and some of it felt like he was regurgitating what was told to him or what he saw and was being super hypercritical of himself. But I'd also say that, he just has this – I would say he's a little bit down on himself right now, but based on that performance, and he's going to have to move out of that soon. Like there's a certain amount of, okay, you can be down about it. You can be, very sincere with the media and sincere with your teammates that you're going to be better. Great. As you said earlier, do it on the field. Like the Broncos team needs you to do that on the field. We don't do sulky right now. We do, okay, what's the next thing? So you went there and you diagnosed where you made mistakes. Now you got to correct it. And the fact is, obviously, the matchups maybe get a little bit easier, but it's not like teams aren't looking at the film and saying, gosh, this guy's throwing off his back foot. Man, he's ignoring all these underneath receivers and chucking it deep. So he's going to have to flip the narrative, like now.
Yeah, he does. There was, it's kind of funny because we had, who do we have on the show that had the put up and shut up?
Oh, well, Noah Fant said that in his press conference.
Before that. A couple weeks, remember? We had somebody on the show because they'd written the column. It's time for, I think it was Joe Rolls or Nick Kendall, one of those guys. And I took exception to that because I'm like, well, Drew Lock isn't talking, so like the put up or shut up doesn't really. But
yeah, it was Rolls.
Yeah, but Noah Fant said it today or this week, whatever it was, at his press conference, and you can tell there's visible frustration with Noah Fant. You could see that on the field in that Chiefs game. At this point, he does have to put up. Now, the shut up part is the part I took exception with because Drew Lock's not out there running his mouth. He's not, wearing ridiculous clothes and running his mouth talking about, guaranteeing wins or any of that kind of stuff. But he does have to show the money. He does have to show that he can do the things. Otherwise, and that's when I say Brock Osweiler, I'm not actually comparing Drew Lock to Brock Osweiler. But Brock said all the right things. You ever watched the Brock Osweiler press conference? That dude was a master of the press conference. He said exactly the right things. He did. And he looked the part. When he got up there, he looked a confident guy. Hey, you know what? I was doing this wrong. We're doing this wrong. Anybody can identify what you're doing wrong. Anybody. Can you fix it? You know? And can Drew correct that? Can he get out of his head, go back to being the confident player that he was last year, who's just having fun, who doesn't have because that's what it looks like to me. It doesn't look like he's having fun anymore. Mm-hmm. It did for a second when he ran that ball in, when he ran in the touchdown. But it doesn't look like he's having fun out there, and that's a large part of his game, being loose and having fun and keeping the other guys up and having fun. That's his style. It doesn't look like he's having fun out there.
I mean, and some of that's self-created for him. I mean, for what he typically is his persona on the field. But is there maybe even just a little bit of maybe somebody else can kind of help remind him of that? I mean, right now, it feels like he is putting kind of the weight of the world on his shoulders. And there isn't really somebody back there to just kind of remind him that, hey, this is just football. I mean, at this point, it feels as though he is like too worried about screwing up the interview, the audition, more so than just going out there and playing.
I think he just desperately wants to win for these guys because they believe in him and they put their necks out for him and been effusive about that. And he's the kind of guy who feels that obligation.